Just because you bought an AI tool does not mean you know AI. Machine learning is dynamic. It moves dynamically with context. And the context changes on a daily basis, on an hourly basis. I would say you're asking the wrong question. There is no fast way to get into the memory of AI. You know who gets into the memory of AI? Apple, Microsoft, Walmart. As humanity, we're approaching collective consciousness. AI makes you a superhuman.
What's the number one misconception that companies have about AI visibility today?
I think the biggest misconception is the fact that they think this is static, like Google results page. You know, AI, machine learning is dynamic. It moves dynamically with context. And the context changes on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, right? I speak with a lot of companies, and I'll have an entire ICP model created for them based on how they represent their brand, and they get shocked. They're like, oh, that's not my ICP. I'm actually not targeting HR directors. I'm targeting founders, but they don't understand. This is how you represented your content. The context of your website, your content, the press releases that you have done, the social media shares, it all says that you are targeting HR directors. That's a part of that misconception, which is, well, you know, here on this page, I said I'm only targeting founders. It doesn't matter. The context, the entire context is dynamic. I think that's the biggest misunderstanding, because they are looking at this and they're thinking about this as, well, here is what my About Us page says. And that's not what AI does.
So what's the fastest way to get into the memory of AI?
I would say you're asking the wrong question. There is no fast way to get into the memory of AI. You know who gets into the memory of AI? Apple, Microsoft, Walmart. There is no fast way. There is an efficient way of getting there. And then also, I'm going to ask you the same question. With what context do you want to get into the memory of AI? Do you want to be the best laptop in the world or the universe? Or do you want to say, well, I am the best laptop, or I produce the best laptop for working and traveling professionals who work in the finance sector? There's a big difference between those two content pillars. So the most efficient way to get in there is to actually talk about what you are good at, who you target, who is your head-on super consumer profile that you want to do business with, and how are you solving their problems today? That's the most efficient way. And the second most efficient way is, how can you give that super consumer profile a perspective that they have never heard before? That's what a lot of people don't understand. This is all integrated now. 30 years ago, we could separate marketing from sales, you know, from business development, from branding, from reputation management. Now it's all integrated for the same reason. This is now a dynamic, living context machine. As humanity, we're approaching collective consciousness. And that's what everybody needs to understand. And that collective consciousness is going to be the dynamic flow of series of thoughts, processes, information, perspectives. And as a brand, as an organization, you have to keep up with that dynamic model. And that's what we offer. That's what we solve.
Why are companies that have great SEO not showing up in LLMs?
I don't think that's the problem. They are showing up, but they're not showing up for what they want to show up for. So the objective is very, very important here. it's terrible from a sales cycle standpoint because you're not showing up for the decision-making process. Somebody says, what is the solution that does this? It will answer, right? But if you say top 3 solutions to solve this problem for me, it's a completely different answer. So the first time in humanity we have the ability to control the entire context of the representation of our brand. So if you have good authority, if you have good visibility in SEO, you'll show up on LLMs, but on what context? With which persona? With what intent? It doesn't mean that you can't get traffic. It means that you're not going to be taking place or you're not going to be participating in decision-making conversations. And as humanity, we're at a point where we don't want to waste time. Right? We're like, just give me the best one. Everybody's doing this. I'm doing this. I ask ChatGPT, it's like, here are 10 products. I'm like, I don't have time for this. Just give me the best one. And then I'm going to trust ChatGPT's decision. Well, how are you going to be the best? What are you going to be the best at? You have to communicate that context, and then you have to get authority for that context. The fact that you say you're the best doesn't mean 10 other people need to say that you're the best. How? Case studies, media outlets, press releases, overabundance of proof that you are the best at what you say you are the best at. I have to write that context into the memory of the LLMs. That's what I do.
Explain the moment you realized that prompts are now the new keywords.
3 years ago, one of my deep interactions with ChatGPT 3 years ago, it was an oh shit moment. And I think that we all have that oh shit moment with AI. The first thought in my process is, I might be obsolete. Like my decision-making engine might be obsolete. And that's important for a lot of people because that's the realization of I need to work with this technology. I need to become one with this technology. It's not AI or me. It's me plus AI. So the brands, similar thing, right? It's not my brand or AI. It's like my brand plus AI. How can you leverage? How can you quantum leap?
What's your favorite aha moment with prospects during calls?
I don't think that it's a single thing that I say where the prospect has an aha moment. I think the infrastructure, the architecture of how the different steps connect together gives them the aha moment. So it's usually towards the end of the conversation where they understand that this is an infrastructure. It's not one task. It's like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 equals 1 million. The value of the process, and that's a very interesting realization. And I give this as an example. Let's say you're going to do eggs in the morning. You're going to cook eggs. Same thing, right? There's an order to how you do eggs. I want over medium eggs, not too oily. Well, when I say not too oily, what are you going to do? You're not going to put a lot of oil in the beginning, but everybody knows that to make eggs on a pan, you have to put the oil first. If you don't put the oil first, what happens? The eggs burn. So it's the order of how you execute. It's not what you execute. Now, eggs is a very basic example, right? What if I was going to do lasagna? What if I was going to do rice for sushi? It's different processes. So the aha moment comes in the know-how, in the wisdom. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. AI makes you a superhuman if you are really good at something that requires a series of execution points where you're building something significant. That's where the aha moment comes. We all have this moment You know this. You're like, oh my God, I'm really good at this. Like the way my mind operates, I'm very good at this. Well, with AI, you're 100 times better. So it's when they realize that this process really, really comes together with the power of AI, with the power of that millisecond analysis.
What's the authority loop framework and why is it so important?
We used to have this authority framework with SEO. You know, I've been doing this for 25 years, and Yahoo used to have this, then Google did a better algorithm. It's kind of like you have a phone number and I have a phone number, right? So 30 people call you, but only 5 people call me. What does that mean? You are more popular than I am, essentially. So this is how the entire Google framework or the online ranking framework is built around. If you have more people talking about you, referring to you, linking back to you, you're more popular than me. Well, then there's context. Okay? You might be the most popular go-to-market engineer, but I might be the most popular SEO. What are we competing at? Okay, if you have 30 go-to-market engineers calling you, and I have 3 go-to-market engineers calling me, but 30 CEOs calling me, I'm a better CEO than you. So this is the model. The authority network works in a similar manner, but it's not just anybody that says you are good or anybody that calls you. It's authoritative. If you look at online, if I say, what is an authoritative outlet, you would say, well, CNN, Fox, news outlets, people who are serious about, like Wikipedia, right? So LLMs process it in the same manner, like who has the most amount of accurate information. So the authority loop is when you place a piece of content on your website that's AI friendly, you have to make sure that that content is supported by authoritative outlets. And this is how people do PR. Why is PR so valuable? Why does Apple spend millions and millions and millions on PR and crisis comms and all of that stuff? Because they want to control the narrative. It's a narrative operating system, essentially. Like, there are bad things about my brand, but I don't want people to see or talk about the bad things. I want people to talk about the good things about my brand. It's a narrative, we call it a narrative operating system. How does that work? That happens with authority. You can write the best goddamn article or the best representation of your brand on your website, but if it's not supported by authoritative outlets, it means nothing. So what we do is we connect the authoritative outlets back to your website. The context is important again. You know, go-to-market engineer, CEO, what do you want to be the best at? What do you want to be known as the best at? So that's how you complete that authority loop.
What's a dangerous assumption that CMOs are making about their visibility?
That they will be in business in 10 years. This is a bloodbath coming. Nobody sees this. And people think I'm fear-mongering. This is the reality, whether you want to accept it or not. 50% of the people who are in the workforce are incompetent. They don't deserve the jobs that they have. Do you know why? Because they're autopiloting. You are not as sophisticated as the world is complex. Get rid of the ego. You're not that good. In the age of AI, where everybody has access to the same information, knowledge, and this is about history, right? In history, knowledge was power. Well, now everybody has access to it. Who has the power? People who move, people who have wisdom, people who make decisions, people who do not autopilot. But 50% of the market is autopiloting. I start at 9, I leave at 5. This is my job, these are my friends. Oh, look, it's the birthday of a coworker. Those days are over. We just don't see it yet. The concept of productivity, creation, is changing before our eyes. You either catch that moment or you miss it. So the biggest misconception is the fact that CMOs are actually doing that they have anything to do with marketing. They're all autopiloting.
What's one belief about marketing that you've changed your mind about in the last 12 months?
That it is about technology. Marketing has nothing to do with technology. And for the past 15, 20 years, we were in this illusion that technology enhanced our ability to market, our ability to represent ourselves better. And that's simply not true. With everything AI and everything else that's going on with AI, I find myself going back to the fundamentals of influence, psychology, inception, and some call it manipulation. I think that the reason for that is because AI can dissect everything in milliseconds now. What strategy can I come up with that's going to be better than AI's? The only strategies are revolving around my ability to process fundamentals as a human being. What can AI not mimic? My decision-making process, my fundamentals, how I describe an ICP or a client's problem, how I approach solving that problem from a human standpoint, not from a machine standpoint. And this is why I say on a lot of my videos, I say, AI is not going to change or alter human touch. It's not going to override human touch. If anything, human touch is going to be more valuable. So anything and everything that we do today at Zen Media started revolving around those fundamentals. And in my opinion, that's going to happen more and more often. Imagine you're a director and you can create any scene. Kind of like the movie Minority Report. You can just play around with things with a UI, invisible UI, where there's no limit to your imagination. Who is the best director? Answer that question. Who is the best director when everybody can create anything in their imagination instantly?
I would say the ones who can touch the largest amount of human beings the most.
Wisdom is the answer.
Wisdom.
The most wise, experienced individuals. How do you become experienced? You move. You make mistakes. You rebuild. You make mistakes again. You learn what not to do again. So, knowledge was power. Now, experience and wisdom are power because everybody has knowledge. Unlimited execution. And that's why 50% of the market is going to be obsolete, because 50% of the market is on autopilot and they're not moving, they're not learning, they're not growing. Just because you bought an AI tool does not mean you know AI. You have to get to the crust of the problem, the fundamentals of the solution. And that's when you're valuable.